Welcome to Sri Sai Satcharitra, Chapter 2. The object of writing the work, incapacity and boldness in undertaking hot discussion, conferring significant and prophetic title of Hemad Pant, necessity of a guru. Object of writing the work. In the first chapter, I described Sai Baba's miracle of checking and destroying the epidemic of cholera by grinding wheat and throwing the flour on the outskirts of village. I heard other miracles of Sai Baba to my great delight, and this enthusiasm burst forth in this poetic work. I also thought that the description of these grand miracles of Sai Baba would be interesting and instructive to his devotees and would remove their sins. So I began to write the sacred life and teachings of Sri Sai Baba. The life of saint is neither logic nor dialectic. It shows us the true and great path. Incapacity and boldness in undertaking the work. Hemad Pant thought he was not fit to undertake the work. He said, "As I do not know the life of my intimate friend, nor do I know my own mind, then how can I write about the life of a saint or describe the nature of incarnations, which even the Vedas were unable to do? One must be a saint himself before he can know other saints. How can I describe their glory? To write about the life of saint is most difficult. One may as well measure the depth of the water in 7 seas or enclose the sky with the cloth trappings. I know this will be the most venturous undertaking which might expose me to ridicule. I therefore must always invoke Sri Sai Baba's grace." The premier poet saint of Maharashtra, Sri Jnaneshwar Maharaj, stated that the Lord loves those who write about the lives of saints. The saints have their own peculiar method of having the service, which the devotees long for. Successfully accomplished, the saints inspire the work. The devotee becomes only an indirect cause or instrument to achieve the end. For instance, in Shakha year of 1700, the poet Mahipati aspired to write about the lives of the saints. The saints inspired him to get the work done. He wrote the 4 works: Bhakta Vijaya, Santa Vijaya, Bhakta Leelamrit, and Santa Leelamrit. Then later, in the Shakha year of 1800, Das Ganu's service was accepted. He wrote 2 books, Bhakta Leelamrit and Santa Kathamrit, in which the lives of modern saints were described. In the chapters 31, 32, 33 of Bhakta Leelamrit and in chapter 57 of Santa Kathamrit, the sweet life and teachings of Sai Baba were well depicted. These have been separately published in Sai Leela magazines number 11, 12, 17. In volume 17, the readers are advised to read these chapters. Sai Baba's wonderful Leelas are also described in small spiritual book named Sri Sainath Bhajan Mala by Mrs. Savitri Raghunath Tendulkar of Bandra. Various sweet poems on Sai Baba composed by Das Ganu Maharaj and also some by devotee named Amidas Bhavani have been published in Gujarati Sainath Prabha. A magazine published by Dakshina Bhiksha Sanstha of Shirdi has been publishing Sai Leelas as well. The question then arises that while so many works regarding Sai Baba are extant, why should this Sri Sai Satcharitra be written and what is the necessity? The answer is quite simple. The life of Sri Sai Baba is wide and deep as infinite ocean, and all can dive deep and take out precious gems of knowledge and bhakti and distribute them to the aspiring public. The stories, parables, teachings of Sai Baba are all quite wonderful and bestow knowledge and wisdom both in the worldly and spiritual domains. They give peace, happiness to the people who are heavily afflicted with sorrows and the miseries of worldly existence. If these teachings of Sai Baba, which are as interesting and instructive as Vedic law, are listened to and meditated upon, the devotees will get what they are longing for, that is, union with Brahman, mastery in Eightfold Yoga, bliss in meditation, etc. I thought, therefore, that I should cull all these stories together, which would be my best upasana. The collection would be most delightful to those souls whose eyes were not blessed with Sai Baba's darshan. I then set about collecting Sai Baba's teachings and expressions, the outcome of his boundless and natural self-realization. It was Sai Baba who inspired me in this matter. In fact, I surrendered my ego at his feet and felt my path was clear. Since I personally could not ask Sai Baba to give me permission for work, I requested Madhavrao Deshpande alias Shama, Baba's most intimate devotee, to speak for me. He pleaded my cause and said to Sai Baba, "This Anna Sahib wishes to write about your life. Don't say you are a poor begging fakir and this is no necessity to write about your life. But if you agree and help him, he will write, or rather, your grace will accomplish this work. Without your consent and blessing, nothing can be done successfully." When Baba heard this request, he was moved and blessed me by giving me his udi, the sacred ashes. He then placed his boon bestowing hand on my head and said, "Let him make a collection of stories and experiences and keep notes and memos. I will help him. He is only an outward instrument. I myself will write my life and satisfy the wishes of my devotees. He should get rid of his ego. Let him surrender at my feet. He who acts like this in life will I help most. What of my life stories? I shall serve him in his house in all possible ways. When his ego is completely annihilated and there is no trace left, then I myself shall enter into him and shall write my life stories. Hearing my stories and teachings will create faith in devotees' hearts and they will easily get self realization and bliss. Let there be no instance and insistence in establishing one's own view, no attempt to refute other opinions, and no discussion of pros and cons on any subject." The word discussion reminded me of my promise to explain the story of my getting the title Hemat Pant, and now I will begin to relate such. I was on close friendly terms with Kahaka Sahib and Nana Sahib. They urged me to go to Shirdi and have Baba's darshan, and I promised them to do so. But something in the interval turned up which prevented me from going. The son of a friend of mine at Lonavala fell ill. My friend tried all possible means, physical and spiritual, but the fever would not abate. At last he got his guru to sit by the side of his son, but this too was of no avail. Hearing this, I thought, what was the necessity of a guru if he could not save my friend's son? If a guru can't do anything for us, why should I go to Shirdi at all? Thinking this way, I postponed my Shirdi trip, but the inevitable must happen, and it happened in my case as follows. Nana Sahib, who was a prompt officer, was going on tour to Bassein. He came from Thana and arrived in Dadar and was presently waiting for a train bound for Bassein. In the meanwhile, a Bandra local train arrived. Nana boarded it, went to Bandra, and then sent for me. He took me to task for putting off my Shirdi trip. Nana's argument for my Shirdi trip was convincing and inspiring, and so I decided to start for Shirdi the same night. I packed my luggage and started for Shirdi. I planned to go to Dadar to catch train for Manmad there, so I booked myself for Dadar and got in train. Just as the train was about to start, a Mohammedan came hastily into my compartment and said, seeing all my paraphernalia, he asked where I was bound. I told him my plan. He suggested that I go straight to Bori Bandar and not stop at Dadar because the Manmad mail did not stop at Dadar at all. If this little miracle or Leela had not happened, I would have not reached Shirdi the next day. Many doubts would have assailed me, but that was not to be. As fortune favored me, I reached Shirdi the next day before 9 or 10 a.m. and met Mr. Babu Sahib or Kaka Dikshit, who was awaiting my arrival. This was in 1910 when there was only one place, that is Sati's Wada, for lodging pilgrim devotees. After alighting from the Tonga, I was anxious to have darshan. When Tatya Sahib was a great devotee of Baba who was returning from the masjid said, "Sai Baba is at the corner of the Wada. First, get the preliminary darshan and then after your bath see him at your leisure." Hearing this, I ran and prostrated before Baba and my joy knew no bounds. I felt more than what Nana Sahib had described. All my senses were satisfied and forgot thirst and hunger. The moment I touched Baba's feet, I began a new lease of life. I felt myself much obliged to those who spurred and helped me get the darshan, and I considered them as my real relatives. I cannot repay the debt but I only remember them and prostrate mentally before them. The peculiarity of Sai Baba Darshan, as I found it, is that by his darshan our thoughts are changed and the force of previous actions is abated, and gradually non attachment and dispassion towards worldly object develops. It is by my merit of actions in many past births that such darshan is received, and if you see Sai Baba, all the world becomes or assumes the form of Sai Baba. Hot discussion. On the first day of my arrival in Shirdi, there was a discussion between me and Baba Sahib regarding the necessity of a guru. I contended, why should we lose our freedom and submit to others? When we have our duty, why is a guru necessary? One must try his best to save himself. What can the guru do to a man who does nothing but sleep indolently? Thus, I pleaded free will, while Mr. Bhate took up to the other side, that is, about destiny, and said, whatever is bound to happen must happen. Even the great men have failed. What man proposes one way, but God disposes the other way. Brush aside our cleverness, pride, or egoism won't help you. This discussion, with all its pros and cons, went on for an hour or so. As usual, no decision was arrived at. We had to ultimately stop the discussion as we were exhausted. The net result of this was I lost peace of mind and realized there were no strong body consciousness and egoism. There would be no discussion. Then, when we went to masjid with others, Baba asked Kaka Sahib Dikshit the following: what was going on in Satiswada? What was the discussion about? And staring at me, Baba further added, what did Hemad Pant say? Hearing these words, I was quite surprised. The masjid was at a considerable distance from Satiswada, where I was staying, and where the discussion was going on. How could Baba know our discussion unless he would be omniscient and inner ruler of all? Significant and prophetic title. I began to think why Sai Baba should carry and call by name Hemad Pant. This word is corrupt form of Hemadri Pant. This Hemadri Pant was a well-known minister of kings Mahadev and Ramdev of Devanagari of Yadav dynasty. He was very learned, good-natured, and author of wonderful works such as Chaturvarga Chintamani, dealing with spiritual subjects, and Raja Prashasti. He invented and started new methods of accounts, and he was originator of Modi, the Marathi shorthand script. But as I was quite the opposite, an ignominious and dull mediocre intellect, I could not understand why the name or the title was conferred upon me. Thinking seriously about it, however, I thought the title was a dart to destroy my ego, so that I would also always remain meek and humble. It was also a compliment paid to me for my cleverness in the discussion. In retrospect, we think Baba's word calling Mr. Dabholkar Hemad Pant was significant and prophetic, as we find that he looked after the management of Sai Sansthan very intelligently, kept all the accounts nicely, and was the author of the fine work Sri Sai Satcharitra, which deals with such important and spiritual subjects as Jnana, Bhakti, dispassion, self-surrender, and self-realization. About the necessity of a guru, Hemad Pant has left no note or memo about what Baba said regarding this subject, but Kaka Sahib Dikshit has published his notes regarding this matter. The next day after Hemad Pant meeting with Sai Baba, Kaka Sahib went to Baba and asked whether he should leave Shirdi, and Baba said yes. And then somehow someone asked, Baba, where should one go? Baba said, high up. And then the man said, which way? Baba said, there are many ways leading there. There is also one way from here, Shirdi. The way is difficult. There are tigers and wolves in the jungle on the way. Kaka Sahib asked, but Baba, what if we take the guide with us? Baba answered, then there is no difficulty. The guide will take you straight to your destination, avoiding wolves, tigers, ditches, etc. on the way. If there is no guide, there is the danger of your being lost in jungle and falling into ditches. Mr. Dabholkar, that is Hemad Pant, was present on this occasion, and he considered this is Baba's answer to the question regarding whether a guru was necessity or not. Hemant Pant thereupon took the hint that no discussion of the problem is required, whether a man is free or bound or is of any use in spiritual matters, but on contrary, real Paramartha is possible only as a result of these teachings like a guru, of a guru, and by the guru. This is illustrated in the chapter of the original work describing great avatars like Rama, Krishna, who had to submit themselves to their gurus, Vasistha and Sandipani, respectively, to achieve self realization. The only virtues necessary for such progress are faith and patience, Nishtha and Saburi. End of chapter 2. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all.